everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Up next on Another View, we're talking politics with our roundtable pundits. So what's in store for our country and for the Black community now that Republicans hold the majority in both the House and the Senate? What will an elected school board mean for the Norfolk school system and our children? And voters in the District of Columbia say yes to recreational marijuana use. Is Virginia next? Roger, Carol, Wil, Bill, and guest pundit Eric Claville have plenty to say. So stay tuned. Another View is next, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Our roundtable pundits are ready to debate today's issues, but before we get to them, please welcome to Another View Ms. Joanne Grossi, Director of Region 3 for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. She's here in Hampton Roads to kick off the open enrollment period for the healthcare insurance marketplace. Welcome, Joanne, to Another View. How are you?
Hey, Barbara. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are so excited about you being in the area. And I want you to know last week we also spoke with Gayleen Knoyton, and she talked to us a lot about the on-the-ground efforts in order to get people to sign up. But my question for you, since the enrollment period starts tomorrow, what's the most important thing people should either know or do as they prepare to enroll?
Well, thanks. Great question. What people should know is, as you said, open enrollment for the health insurance marketplace starts tomorrow and goes through February 15th. And anyone who signs up for the insurance by December 15th, their health insurance coverage will start January 1st. But the other thing that's really important to know about the marketplace, it is for the uninsured if you're currently uninsured. So if you have health insurance already from your employer or Medicare or Medicaid or TRICARE, the marketplace isn't for you, but it is for the hundreds of thousands of Virginians who are currently uninsured.
Mm-hmm. And if you enrolled last year, do you have to go through the enrollment process again this year, or is it an automatic? What happens there?
Right. So if you enrolled last year, we actually very much encourage you to go back to healthcare.gov and update any information you may have. Now, it's going to be a much easier process for you this time. 90% of what you filled out last time is already going to be pre-populated for you, so it's going to be a much easier process. But we are encouraging people to go back to see if they can get a better plan, a cheaper plan. If their income changed, we'll need to know that for the subsidies if they were receiving it. And we do have more insurance companies participating in the marketplace this year. So we really are encouraging people to go and, look again and update their information to see if they can get different and better insurance. Mm-hmm. But if they do nothing, they will be automatically re-enrolled in their plan from last year. And if they were earning subsidies, it will be the same amount.
Same thing. So Health and Human Services, you all are projecting 9 to 9.9 million will enroll this year. And that's less than the 13 million projected by the Congressional Budget Office. So where's the disconnect? Are we still just trying to get people to the table, so to speak?
We are trying to get everybody who doesn't have health insurance to get the health insurance that they deserve and that they need. I don't have to tell you this is life and death issue. So goal really for this time is about 9.1 million people to get enrolled in the marketplace. Don't forget, some people will now have gotten jobs or now retired and now be on Medicare. So some people, won't be re-enrolling this time. So we think a goal of 9.1 million is a very realistic one.
Okay. And Joanne, I know, and not to put you in a political bind at all, but with all the talk between Republicans and Democrats and what's going to happen with the Affordable Care Act and so forth, what can you say to reassure people that at this moment, why they need to sign up and to go ahead and become enrolled?
Well, because, you just said it, the health insurance marketplace is up and running and it's working. And, I've said it a minute ago, and I do think it's sincere. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from people who come up to me and tell me they didn't have health insurance. They got it through the marketplace. Then they found out they had cancer or they had some other condition. And now they're getting literally the life-saving measures that they need and coverage they need. So I think we all feel that one of the most important things in our lives is our health. And this can give you such a peace of mind, keep you healthy, keep you around for your family and friends for a long time. So I can't think of anything more important than having health insurance.
Mm-hmm. So now you are going to be at several different places tomorrow in the area. Do you want to talk about some of the groups that you're particularly focused on trying to reach?
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm going to be at the Boo Williams Sportsplex tomorrow, and also at the Lamberts Point Community Center, and also at Senator Warner's conference for women tomorrow, because, this is such an important area. We're so trying to get as many Virginians enrolled as possible. So 3 different events tomorrow, and at all those events, at the sports complex and at the Point Community Center, we will have certified application counselors and navigators there. People can actually enroll on site, or at least get questions answered. So, hope everybody will come out. There's also going to be free screenings for health screenings for people. So really hope everybody will come out and take advantage of this opportunity. Okay,
and people can find all of these events on our website, anotherviewradio.org. Before I let you go, Joanne, here's your opportunity to talk particularly to young people, because I know those are the ones that you really need to reach out to, and it's probably a harder population to convince to enroll.
Yeah, although last year here in Virginia, 31% of those who enrolled in the marketplace were young adults between 18 and 34, and we certainly, want to reach that goal again. You're right, we want all Virginians to get the health insurance they need. And if you don't mind, the one other thing I'd like to remind people is there is financial assistance available to pay for your premium. If you make up to 400% of the federal poverty level, which is about $96,000 a year for a family of 4, about $47,000 a year for an individual. So please remember, last year here in Virginia, 81% of the people who enrolled in the marketplace got financial assistance. So just want to remind people that's available to them. And again, we want as many people as possible to enroll in the marketplace.
Okay, and healthcare.gov is up. It's working. Things are okay.
Healthcare.gov, it's up and working, and it starts, officially tomorrow. And, we're confident it's going to work. And don't forget, even with some of the glitches in the beginning last year, we enrolled 7.3 million people who enrolled and paid for their premiums, and including 216,000 in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So,
okay. Well, welcome
you can start tomorrow.
Okay, Joanne, welcome to Hampton Roads, and that's Joanne Grossi. She is the Director of Region 3 for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. She's here in Hampton Roads to celebrate health care and to work with the Open Exchange, which opens tomorrow. So if you need health insurance, please pay attention, go to one of these events, get the information that you need. Thank you so much for joining us, Joanne. We really appreciate it. And now to today's roundtable discussion. Please welcome Virginia-Pilot columnist Roger Chesley. You can read his column every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Hi, Roger.
Hello, Barbara. How are you
I'm doing great. I haven't seen you in a while.
Welcome back.
Yes,
we missed
exactly.
you last month. Although Lisa did very well in your absence.
I know, and I always appreciate it when Lisa sits in for me. NSU political science professor Carol Pretlow. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Barbara.
So glad to see you. And
I'm
you look
glad
nice
to
and
be
warm.
here.
If you guys can see us online at anotherviewradio.org, she's all bound up in her gold turtleneck. It's very pretty.
Behold the green and gold.
Oh, here we go. Community activist Bill Thomas. How are you, Bill? Pull your mic down so you can say hi to the folks.
Yeah, I want to put my earphones on. I didn't want to listen to the lady. You have her telephone number so I can call her after the program?
Yes, we will.
I have some questions.
Okay, well, I will give you the number and you may call her.
And her
absolutely. And special guest pundit, Dr. Eric Claville, who is a political science and law professor with Hampton University. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
And we've had you on the show before in various formats. So welcome to the roundtable, and hold on to your seats, because And we are attempting to reach Wil LaVeist, who, as an author, journalist, and talk show host. He is out of town, so we're trying to get him on the phone. But let's go ahead.
Didn't he know he was supposed to be on the program?
Yeah, well, he knew, and he had to go out of town, and he was willing to call in and behave.
Responsibilities.
All right, so Republicans now control the House and the Senate. Was there anybody who was surprised by the outcome, Eric?
No, I wasn't surprised. And according to the last polling,
no one really should have been surprised of the seats that were lost. I think what was the biggest surprise was that how convincingly a lot of the Dems actually lost the election. And, my thoughts is immediately after the election was primarily the Democrats ran away from what worked for them. Grassroots organizing. And a lot of people, especially one caller from a show I did previously, was asking, where was the Obama machine? In other words, where were the people knocking on the doors, reaching out to them, and the like? And the problem was that the Democrats ran away from them because Republicans were able to control and dictate the topics and control and dictate the tone of the election itself.
Roger, even in my home state of Maryland, 30% of African Americans voted for the Republican candidate, and Maryland was a pretty blue state.
It's a very blue state, and in fact, my sister-in-law's brother is the new lieutenant governor elect in that particular state, a black Republican who has been a Republican, got those leanings when he was in high school and college. And I think it says something about, first of all, the message for the gubernatorial candidate there, and as well as almost a lack of a message by a lot of Democratic candidates. Look, if you're going to run away from the president because you felt like his polling numbers were so low because he has had his share of problems on the domestic and international side of the ledger, well, then you're also going to run away from those things that he had done well in terms of what the unemployment rate is now, in terms of how the stock market has done over the past few years, in terms of the economic recovery that had taken place, in terms of the Affordable Care Act. And you could say there are the problems, but we all know stories of my wife's cousin could not afford insurance before the ACA came about. After it, she was able to have some serious surgery. She would not have been able to get surgery because she had cancer as a child. Now she was able to have some serious surgery that would not have been available. So when you run away from the president, you also run away from his accomplishments. And if the Democrats had a coherent theme during the campaign trail, I'd like to know what it was.
Well, it seems, Carol, that it was let's go away from Obama. But why has it been all along that the Obama administration has had such a hard time touting its accomplishments?
I think because primarily when we look at the president, I think he positioned himself to be objective. And, from the very first, 2008, I'm going to listen to both sides of the story. I'm going to be objective. And that's probably because of his legal training. But at the same time that you do that, it's very hard to ground down on your message. The other thing that was the problem, and I guess we will get to that sooner or later, is that the youth vote. And I was very disturbed. Not only do our youth not showing up, but I was also a little disappointed by the Democratic Party. And again, usually we're overwhelmed enough to say, can I come to your class? Can I be there? Nobody called. Warner came to ODU, and we took students over there. But you've got to get out there and be with the people to understand.
Well, Bill, you must be smiling.
Oh, actually, I am. I think that
let's not even talk.
No, we did polls, and we do pretty accurate polling. And in our polling, that the last one we looked at, we saw that 72% of the people were voting were over 60. And 38% of those were over 65. And that was clearly, and you look at the millenniums, is that what they call these young kids these days?
The millennials.
They were less than 8%, including my daughter, who the Hampton graduated. And Senator Warner did come over to Hampton and campaign quite effectively, and we supported him on that as individuals. But the point is, my daughter, as a sample of one, which is probably bad, but now that she's out in the workforce and paying all these huge taxes in California and paying for her insurance, her health care insurance went up 30%. Because you have to now include the folks that aren't insured in an overall plan in your institutions like we do. And our insurance went up 25%, and you have to increase your deductible to lower your premium. And so I can't afford insurance now.
So you're gonna
literally
go to
at the level
exchange?
that I had to have. I'm not going to go there because I don't want anybody to give me something. I don't have any, that I need to work for myself. But if you can't, we need to be taken care of. But that's a failure. Look at Norfolk State, look at Virginia State, and even look at Hampton. The president's attention to historical Black College University has been atrocious. Lowering of cutbacks in funding for us and our institutions and for parents who trying to help their kids get through. And what the stock market is doing is helping the one percenters. Your largest asset today, or should be if you're over 50, should be your retirement account. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of dying broke. And the 1% of my retirement fund is in the stock market. So y'all keep, Barack Obama, keep it up. Keep the stock market going. Get it over 2,000, and I'll be very, very happy. And I'm not a 1%er, but I'm a 20%er. But the 1%ers are getting rich, and the poor people are being just taken to court.
So the other 19, according to your 20%, is what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. We're doing fine. But remember, your biggest account now, the biggest asset is not your house. It should be your retirement account.
We have Will with us now. Hi, Will. How are you?
Hey, Barbara. How's everybody doing?
And I'm okay. So, Will, let me ask you this question then. Is this an opportunity, since the Republicans are now in charge, for them to actually give the African American community a reason to come to their side?
Well, I mean, any day you're alive and you have an opportunity to make a vote is an opportunity to make a difference, but there won't be much difference done. I'm very doubtful of that, and I don't even know what the Republicans are so excited and gleeful about when you look at the fact that the voter turnout was the worst that it's been in 72 years.
Not for Republicans.
Bill said not for Republicans.
He's talking about everybody.
That's everybody.
No, it's just not true.
Sure.
So, you have a low voter turnout. No state was over 60%. I mean, this is not a situation where the people are saying, oh, we hate Obama and we love the Republicans. The people are saying that we hate what all of our elected officials are doing. Mm-hmm. So each side is basically going to pander to its own base. And so the Republicans are going to continue to pander to their base. And Democrats stayed away because Obama, for the most part, has not pandered to his base. In fact, he's governed probably more like a Republican. Bill was just saying about how he's affected the stock market. That sounds like very Republican-type policies that he's affected. He's kept foreign policy basically the same as his predecessor.
Oh, that is true.
Affordable Care Act, Bill was going on and on and on about it, but the Affordable Care Act is a Republican idea.
And no
one wants to say that. No one wants to say that. That comes from Republicans.
Okay.
The single pay, the everyone paying into the system. Go look at what Romney said about that, and that being Republican, that being personal responsibility. So Bill sounds rather silly. Now he's complaining about Affordable Care Act, but why he want everybody to vote into it was out of personal responsibility. So now everybody's changed now. Everybody's changed.
Hang on, Will. Let's let Eric talk. Go ahead, Eric.
Will, first of all, how are you today, Will?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Very good. He mentioned something I want to touch on a little bit of what Professor Pretlow stated. And Will, first of all politics is local. So if you look at those elections where Republicans won, Maryland, also in Utah, those individuals, they ran a local campaign and they built local connections and local partnerships there. As far as this being an opportunity for the RNC, if you continue to look at and Fox News is pretty much the large broadcast of Republican policy. You have individual pundits, Sean Hannity and people of that nature, but Fox News is the major platform. If you look at what they're talking about, it's still, Obama. The RNC's platform was a referendum against Obama, and painting his policies as being wicked for all, which in actuality, it actually helps the 90 percentile of the country more so. And what Obama has failed to do, and this is my only constructive criticism of his time in the White House. I think he's done a phenomenal job given what he was handed to him after Bush 2 left. Keep in mind, the stock market was down to 6,500. Okay, 6,500. All right, I had a buddy who lost $200,000 in one day. Okay.
Ooh, makes my heart hurt. Go ahead.
Think about that. Okay, so with that being the case, now it's over 17,000. The economy itself, is balanced. But at the same time, my constructive criticism is that he failed to use the White House as the bully pit to pat himself on the back, put the message out, tell individuals why this is why his policies are good. Unfortunately, as I tell my students, he's using a rhetorical device that is least effective, and that's appealing to intellect.
Wow, that's interesting. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to take a dig at Bill here. If he thought that, if he thought that the current administration wasn't doing enough for Virginia State and Norfolk State, let's see what happens with the Republican-led Congress and what they're going to do for those two institutions. But I agree a lot with what Eric said. I mean, politics is sometimes a dirty business, and sometimes the president has tried to act like he can be above it instead of getting down in the trenches and doing what you have to do. Okay. And because of that, those good things that he's done, he's often it gets lost, and it often he doesn't get the true credit that he should garner from that. And it will be interesting to see, what the Republicans are going to do with this newfound power. They have not, if you've taken a look at some of the op-eds that have come out, since the election, they did very good in winning the election. Governing is a lot different than winning elections. What in terms of a credible policies and plans are they actually going to affect? They still hate Obamacare. That's going to get vetoed if they get bills through.
For 2
so
years.
what are you going to do after that? And also, they did retake the Senate, but a lot of the Senate seats that were up for election this year were in places that were vulnerable to Democrats. That won't necessarily be the case 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do with this power? Now that you're the dominant party, are you going to do something that actually helps everybody? Or are you going to continue to say, Obama bad, we good?
Well, Carol, we're already in the debate about the immigration bill, and Obama, the Republicans saying don't do it, kind of throwing out the throwing down the gauntlet, and the president saying, you know what, I'm moving forward.
And I think that, and I agree with Roger that. Okay, let's see what happens with him, because the ball could be in the president's court. Okay, he can veto. He can use executive order. Now what you going to do?
Let's go to Sandy in Chesapeake. Hi, Sandy. You're on the air.
Thank you so much. Good morning, all.
Hi. Good
morning. I heard the gentleman speaking about people asking, where was the Obama machine? Where were the Democrats knocking on the doors? Well, I started knocking on the doors for the Democrats in August. And the first thing I'd like to say is that we need better civics classes in our school system, because most people think the most important election they'll ever vote in is the presidential election, and that's wrong. They need to learn they have to get out for your city council, your school board, your local representatives to the state house, as well as your national election. But people forgot that Mark Warner was elected with Barack Obama 6 years ago. And they had some sort of idea that he was not going to be vulnerable. I can tell you that I know people who did not vote because they thought, well, he's a shoo-in. We don't have to get out there and vote. And I can tell you every Republican in Chesapeake got out and voted.
Sure did.
And that's why you saw the election as close as it was. And I just think that people don't put as much time and effort into really looking at why somebody was elected in the first place, who was elected with them, and what that means when they come up for election again. The next time Mark Warner comes up for election will be when we're doing another presidential election, probably in 2020. And we'll see what happens, how he rates then. But I can tell you, people were just plain apathetic.
Sandy, thanks so much for your call. We appreciate that. Let me get a response from Will, because I want to make sure you stay in the conversation. Will, what do you think about what Sandy just said?
Well, I think that she's on. I mean, she's talking about people staying home, and not being
lazy,
enthusiastic, and not being engaged. And that's, to me, winning an office, that's not something to be excited about and say, I have a mandate to make great change. People are just kind of fed up with what both sides are doing, and we already know that when voter turnout is low, that tends to favor Republicans, and especially when it's low in particular states, you know, where you have a large amount of Democrats. But again, like I said earlier, I mean, the voter turnout was like 36%. You know,
it's kind of, and it's kind of scary when you think about 36% of the entire country determining who's going to govern the entire company. Go ahead, Eric.
And then as has already been said, when ads are put out to basically prick people's emotions and not their common sense, and not as really what is best for, you know, a lot of people vote based on their emotions, and they vote against their own best interests.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, a lot of the people that Bill Thomas talks to all the time. That's what they do.
But see, here you're gonna make it simple, but
they vote against their own best interests because they get excited or over some kind of emotional issue. And the bottom line, as what Claville was saying, is that Obama's policies have actually, from where the country was and where things are going now, that his policies have actually, he's done what he said he was going to do. I disagree with Roger saying he doesn't know how to get down and dirty. He absolutely does. He's from Chicago. He knows Chicago politics.
Go ahead.
He's doing what he said he was going to do.
Then, since you called Roger out, let's let Roger respond. Go ahead.
And I disagree with Will on this. On those things where he needed to engage the folks in his party the most, especially the folks in the House and Senate, he has been too professorial. He has been too much of, well, they should just know the rightness of my appeal and my argument. He is not. He does not do those things where it comes to visceral, emotional things, as Will might say. He does not connect enough with that, with the people who make a difference in the House and Senate.
Okay, hold on, you guys. If you're just joining us, we're debating politics with the Another View Roundtable. Roger Chesley with the Virginian-Pilot, Carol Pretlow with Norfolk State University, community activist Bill Thomas, Eric Claville with Hampton University, and author, journalist, and talk show host Wil LaVeist. Eric, you had something you wanted to say.
Sure. Going back to the caller, and first of all, thank you, caller, for calling in with that comment. Overall, you know, that's, again, goes back to all politics is local, and that's a great thing that happened in that area. But overall, the Democrats ran away from their platform. They ran away from the person that got them there. As it relates to, you know, the president getting down and dirty, you know, the two most brilliant presidents we've had in our modern time have been Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. You know, Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. I can
see Bill over there. He's going to take issue with that, but go ahead first.
You know, and if you look at that pedigree, if you look, you know, at their body of work, and one thing I remember hearing Bill Clinton at the DNC. And he broke down the conditions of the country so well that the average person could understand. One thing that sets Bill Clinton apart from everyone during this generation, the last 40 years of politics, is that he's able to think on the level of a Rhodes Scholar that he is, but he's also able to relate to Bubba. And
that's true.
You know, and he can take those complex ideas and make you feel at home with it, make you understand it. He's
and you're saying that Barack Obama does not have that ability.
No, he does not have that ability at all. He doesn't.
Bill, I see you shaking your head over there.
There's two things. Any man that cheats on his wife and can get on national TV with her, admit it, and still remain married, he is the most brilliant man I ever saw in the face of the earth. But the other issue in relationship to what the young lady said about our children understanding history and civics, she's right on board with that. And what we're doing in Virginia is getting ready to eliminate SOLs for history and civics. We're going to eliminate it. And that's going to happen to, especially to the black community, our kids are not going to know their history at all.
Wow.
And they're not going to know civics. They're not going to know the Constitution. They're not going to do anything. So when they eliminate the SOL portion, and you're looking up, Roger, of kids from third grade forward, of having to pass that and understanding what America really is just going to dilute the ignorance that goes through our community even greater.
Carol, I'll give you the last word on this, and then we're going to move on to another topic.
I'm sorry that that's going to be eliminated, but that's going to put more pressure on teachers to actually teach that. Yes, they will, because I learned a lot based on community experience, both on teachers and civic organizers and all of that. So it means that we as a community have to step up to the plate and do more. I'm sorry about the SOLs, but let's move on.
Okay, Norfolk voters decided it's time to elect school board members rather than have them appointed. Now, according to Virginia law, school boards can be elected at large or by district. So, Roger, which way should they go?
As opposed to city councils, I would hope that they would go for citywide voting on this. I'm not
at large.
I'm not sure that the schools should be piecemealed out, that you're really having somebody from the different areas of the city necessarily focusing in on this particular school or these 4 or 5 particular schools. I hope they decide to do it, at large. At large instead of by wards. Great accomplishment, because it was such a high bar for them, the organizers of the referendum, to finally get this on the ballot. So many opportunities and so many chances to get this on had failed in the past, and you saw what voters wanted. They overwhelmingly backed the elected school board form. So to me, it doesn't matter so much whether it is at large or by ward. The fact that they that this is going to be the decision. It won't make everything great. It's not a panacea, but it could be part of the mix that helps the schools get better.
I know Will and Eric and Bill, you guys all have experience in Hampton, and Hampton just recently went through this, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of determining which way the votes were going to go for school board members. Anybody want to comment?
Well, they're just trying to change it from district, as Roger just mentioned it, to at large, which means that people have an overall sense of what to do. But the public schools by zip codes in certain areas like Norfolk, Portsmouth, and Richmond are all bomb blasted mental cases anyhow. The schools aren't accredited, the kids aren't passing. We in the city of Hampton, we have no national merit semifinalists in the entire city.
So
the one that was
produced,
it's the parents and the schools. But the schools have these kids for 6 and 7 to 8 hours a day. They're not producing anything. The city of Norfolk, the same condition. We have 20 national merit semifinalists in all of Hampton Roads, and 2 schools in Northern Virginia have 260. So when you start thinking about elected or not elected or something like that, that is parents. They ought to close those schools and go with charter schools, and Hampton is ready to stand up and be one.
Will, go ahead, Will, and then I'll come to you, Eric.
I mean, what Bill just alluded to about the performance of students, I think if people really understand what school boards do, they don't really have much of an effect in that area. The student performance comes down to the teachers, it comes down to the principals, and your superintendent is who sets the vision for the school district, empowers the principals empower teachers. The school board basically chooses the superintendent and oversees the superintendent. Right. And that's it. And you got people running for office who are saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, you're not. All you do as a board is you pick the superintendent and you work with the superintendent.
Sure.
And a lot of these positions, basically what they become is running for school board becomes a preliminary step that you do because you've got aspirations to go to the council. Come on, come on. Why don't we stop playing with these things? That's what that really is.
You're talking about
Will is
hold on. Go ahead.
Will is exactly right as it relates to the policy of school districts. The board itself is a policy governing board, as opposed to which. And the superintendent is pretty much an employee. So if you have a board of governors and you have a president, the president is the one that operates the day-to-day, responsible for day-to-day operation. And then, of course, the different school principals and the like. So as far as how they're chosen, the wards or districts do help a better representation of the areas. However, when you have a school district or a city that's kind of, more so leaning toward the other way, one demographic or the other, or the area itself feel that they can elect competent people across the board, then that's when that comes into play. But however, I don't think it's going to have a major deal. Going back to what Bill said regarding schools themselves, charter schools are going to get the same students that public schools get. Okay, so you're simply taking the same student that's in a failing public school and putting that same student in a charter school. And one thing that schools deal with, public schools, is that you're dealing with individuals who are in a similar area. They're experiencing similar problems. They're experiencing similar issues at home. And when you bring all that together under one roof, you end up teaching, but you end up counseling as well. And you have so many issues that the schools deal with. So the school system and the individual schools are a reflection of the greater society, unfortunately.
Bill, go ahead, and I'm going to let Roger speak. Go ahead.
I will mention Hampton. Hampton has a model of taking 20% of its students who do not perform well, but who have the potential. They put them in an environment, whether they're rich, poor, some kind of handicap or whatever, and those kids, as they grow through sophomore, junior, senior, they match what the better kids are doing because the environment, the leadership is there. The school board should set policy, but they ought to be able to pick decent leaders that can effectively motivate that policy to become effective. Our folks aren't. When we have African-American males reading proficiency, the fourth grade at 10% graduating, when we have 25 or 16 or 17 in Norfolk's case, African-American males graduating with a B average in the entire school system. Portsmouth has 35. There is something definitely wrong with that. And it's not because of the kids' skin color or anything else. It's just poor management at the top, and the board is the one who selects these people. That should be done away with, and they should allow competition and charter schools.
Weren't you going to run for a school board?
Yeah, but he's now he is right. He's right on that. I couldn't get two other people with the similar ideas to go on with me because I got to have somebody second my motion and then get a majority of votes to make to effective change the policy. If I could have got two more people to do that, then I would have ran. But I couldn't convince the other two people to run with me. I got to make a motion, but I got to get a second, and then I got to get the majority vote. I just wanted it on board and the question brought to bear, but I couldn't do that as an individual.
Now, okay, Roger, hold on one second. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, we know that parenting plays a big role in this, but one of the comments that Bill made about how well some of the students do in Northern Virginia, come on, we know that part of that is the amount of money that those families have, the income levels of a lot of the communities there, as opposed to the income levels in places like Norfolk, Portsmouth, Petersburg, and the like.
Urban schools always have more of an issue.
More of a challenge, less wealth, and that's always going to be an issue for some of those school divisions.
Okay,
well,
so
Barbara,
go ahead.
I disagree with just saying. I understand what Roger is saying, but he's also putting out there that money is like the end all be all. That's just not.
I did not say that. I said that those are contributing factors.
I said that part of what you're putting out there when you say that is that money is what's determining so much of this, and that's not the case. You've got many schools, many urban areas, New York and other various areas. Barbara Collins School in Chicago was famous for several years of taking some of the poorest children and pouring into them and turning them around. So, as I said earlier, we're talking about school boards and we're talking about children performance. As I pointed out earlier, any school board member that says you vote me in, I'm going to change your child's performance is just lying. You don't have that kind of effect. That effect happens at the teacher, principal level, and with the superintendent who empowers everybody with a vision to have high expectations of kids and to commit to them. And a lot of that does not have to do with money. That has to do with passion, being dedicated, taking this as a calling, and and that's what turns those types of things around. So.
Okay, I'm gonna let Roger have the last word on this.
And I would say that those are more the exceptions than the rules. In city after city across this country, it is so much of a challenge. It is so much to get over for the poor school district.
Okay, here we go. Got another topic for you guys. Okay, in D.C., recreational use of marijuana passed in the election. I'm going to read you the initiative real quick here. In the District of Columbia, a person 21 years of age or older will now be allowed, if it continues, if the bill passes Congress, to possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana for personal use, grow no more than 6 cannabis plants, with 3 or fewer being mature flowering plants within the person's principal residence, transfer without payment but not sell up to 1 ounce of marijuana to another person 21 years of age or older, and use or sell drug paraphernalia for the use, growing, or possessing of marijuana or cannabis. Can that happen here in Virginia, Eric?
Well, it's going to be an issue that the voters are going to have to determine, and the legislature is going to have to determine if that's something that they're going to put into play into the bill cycle. Currently, no. I don't see the will of our legislature doing that. I don't see the state of Virginia and the voters really embracing that. If you look at where legalization of medical marijuana, this is recreational.
This is recreational. Because the D.C. already approved medical marijuana a couple years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is really the first of its kind. So if you look at the other states that have approved it, those states are, they're different types of states than Virginia. You have Alaska, you have Oregon, you have Washington, you have now the District of Columbia. I don't see it going because I think there's enough solid evidence that shows this is not productive for especially our youth and society as a whole. So I don't see it.
Carol, now the bill has to go before Congress. Do you think that it will move anywhere?
No, I don't. I think when you have a more conservative element in Congress, it's not. First of all, as you were reading that, I was like, what the heck does all of that mean? And the average voter, 2 ounces, what does that mean? Your brain kind of clouds there, and the average voter is like, what? And not because of marijuana, but because you have to break it down into simple language what each of those portions means and how that's going to affect.
Well, let me throw this one thing out though, because according to the people who supported this bill and who helped get it passed, one of their arguments is that a lot of the support was fueled by reports of an inordinate number of arrests of African Americans, especially young men, for marijuana possession and use. While surveys showed equal or higher use of marijuana by white people, a fairly large majority of marijuana-related arrests were made on black people. Supporters said Initiative 71, which is the bill we're talking about, would end this arena for racism. Bill?
No, I was going to say before you said that, I don't agree with any of the things showing a gateway for drugs for the use of marijuana, but I do think they ought to decriminalize it. I think they ought to decriminalize it and let all the African American or white folks.
Your Republican friend's about to have a heart attack.
No, I'm not. Before they allow all these illegal aliens in this country, I think we ought to allow the African Americans that are disproportionately in prisons for smoking marijuana or taking crack, or anybody who hasn't done anything that was materially harmful to another citizen, like stabbing, shooting, or some other harmful things. I think we ought to let those people out of the jail. Let them go to the hospital or get the services they need under Obamacare, and do it before we do this thing with this illegal stuff that they're talking about. I believe that it should be decriminalized. It's stupid to put people in jail for having a hospital or mental problem.
Well,
Barbara, I appreciate you bringing up that stat about the arrests, because that's really at the root of this problem and why it should be passed, why it was a good idea, even though I'm not a weed smoker. I think that it's a good idea to pass it. And if your question was, is it possible in Virginia? Well, when you drive around, you see that ABC store, liquor store that's run by the state of Virginia. I mean, come on. The state of Virginia runs the liquor stores?
Absolutely. Make a lot of money.
So if the state of Virginia runs the liquor stores and liquor is killing more people in terms of accidents and people being drunk and is a public health problem, then why wouldn't the state of Virginia make marijuana available right out of those same liquor stores?
Crack? Why won't we do that too?
Bill, again, what Bill is,
let's go with crack.
Okay, what Bill is throwing out, out an old mindset that led to the war on drugs, that led to the criminalization that he just spoke against.
By your congressman.
Bill, I'm talking. Come on now.
Yeah,
relax.
let him talk.
It's okay. It's okay. Other people can give an opinion. You don't have to be afraid to hear my opinion. What I'm saying is that mindset is what led to the war on drugs. Oh, this is going to lead to that. Oh, this is going to lead to that. Oh, we're going to have anarchy in the streets. That mindset dates all the way back to Prohibition, going at the turn of the last century almost. I mean, come on. So meanwhile, what's happening is that, as you pointed out, because you're kind of contradicting yourself, you pointed out that how our people, black and brown people, have been so devastated by these policies, yet you're throwing out the same mindset that, it's going to lead to crack. It's going to lead to this. Come on.
No, I just said legalize crack.
So, so you don't think it's a gateway drug? Go ahead. Well, necessarily.
Right. Well, Will, where you're speaking of this being the root of it, it's decriminalizing the use of marijuana, and you mentioned prohibition, is not going to stop the unequal arrest of African American males in drug use. It boils down to proper policing and enforcing the laws equally across the board. So you really should start there as opposed to making all drugs, or in this case, not all drugs, but marijuana legal. Because what's going to end up happening is that they're saying, okay, you can pass X amount of ounces of marijuana to another person without selling. Well, somebody's going to sell that stuff, okay? And you're all right, nothing's free.
Well, and I mean the other part of it is the monetization of this whole thing, because at some point it's got to be monetized, don't you think, Roger?
That's a possibility, but if you're talking about the people who sit in Richmond and what their mindset is, and what the stigma is for people mostly of the generation of the delegates and senators in the state, it's not going to pass anytime soon here. I mean, Will make some good points about, hey, we're in the liquor business. Why shouldn't we? Why would it be a problem? It's because there's not the same stigma, even though with the deaths and the other problems that are caused by alcohol, there's this other hurdle you have to get through with marijuana. And for the people that sit up there, I'd be stunned if, say, in the next 4 legislative sessions, you see anybody trying to move on that.
Does anybody think?
Barbara,
go ahead.
I would
go
argue
ahead.
that those people are still, they're not antiquated, unintelligent people. They're smart people, and they also see what is happening with the cost of crime, with the cost of prisons, and how much is being spent on that. And that is also what is causing a lot of Republicans who have had that kind of traditional view to take another look at this. Rand Paul has come out and has been talking about this, that, look, what we're doing is spending all this money in other ways that's just not productive, not fiscally responsible. And so I think these people who, Roger, again, is implying that, they're older, they're stuck in their ways. I refuse to believe that. I believe that people are older. They can see what's going on. They can analyze things and see what is in their best interest. What used to be is not the case anymore, and they'll make the adjustment.
Sure.
Okay, we can put a bet on it and see if anybody does it within the next 4 sessions. Then, Will, we can make a friendly bet on that.
I agree with Roger. It's not going to happen next 4 sessions, probably next 8. But Will mentioned something about spending money on prisons. If you look at the unequal laws, what we call the war on crack, during that time period, what happened during the Reagan administration, it was the age of privatization of government. And one thing that was privatized were prisons, which is one thing you should not privatize, because private companies are in the business of making what? Money. Period. And in order for a prison to make money, you have to have what?
Prisoners.
You have to have prisoners. You have to have inmates. And they have to stay there for a pretty long time. So what ends up happening, so now you see the connection. Privatizing prisons, you create a base, okay, in order to fund that prison, which are prisoners. You see the increase of drug laws for African American males, and you also see music changing as well to fuel that and give it a soundtrack. Okay, so the gangster rap and things of that nature.
They call it truth in sentencing. Mandatory sentencing. You do anything, you go to jail forever. Do it 3 times, you can't get out.
Right.
So do you think that the legalization from a federal standpoint, will that happen in our lifetime?
No, it happened January 1 when President Obama issues that executive order to let all these illegal aliens in, these 4 million.
What does that have to do with the legalization of
They'll
marijuana?
start voting, and then when they're able to vote, it'll happen.
Again,
You don't
all were
understand that?
saying that. I think people were
see, you
saying
don't want to
that.
hear the truth.
Barbara,
Yes,
Barbara,
go
I think
ahead,
people
Will.
were saying that about to Roger's earlier point. We're saying that about same-sex marriage too. That this is never going to happen in such and such a lifetime. American people are not stupid. We see some of the things that are happening economically. People see it and grow and develop and evolve in their mindset and their thoughts. Not everybody is like Bill Thomas, is stuck in the antebellum age or something.
Carol, my question was, do you think that it will go national in terms of legalization of marijuana
No,
anytime
I
soon?
really do not think it will go national, especially when you look at the conservative nature of both bodies of Congress now. And I also think that when you look at the population generally, people are a lot more conservative when it comes to drug use. And I mean, and I'm not talking about the millenniums, because if they show up to vote, it might be a rapid change.
Actually, I have to disagree with my colleague from Norfolk said. I think it will be on the national level very soon.
And
I
why?
don't think it'll pass.
And I say within our generation, I'm talking next 25 years.
Okay, next 20,
You're definitely going to see that, and it's because the voters now, the young voters, who are more inclined to this type of culture, are going to become older. And keep
You
in
guys,
mind,
wait,
keep in
because
mind
you
that-
all keep talking about this type of culture, but the baby boomers were very much back in the day
Thank you,
into
Barbara.
marijuana.
Sure.
What is this
Barbara,
whole
thank-
Well,
thank
thing
you.
about?
keep in
No
mind,
marijuana.
keep in mind, smoking
I did
marijuana.
not take any marijuana.
I didn't ask you that. I just said, but my point is, we're making it sound like it's just the young people.
Right.
It
Well,
wasn't.
Well, still,
thank you,
even
Barbara. Thank you.
no. Look, we all know.
Will. Go ahead.
We all know the
And we
baby
got 2
boomers.
minutes. Come on.
Look, real quick, Will. We all know the baby boomers and the '60s and so forth, the drug revolution, sex revolution. We know what all that meant. But at the same time, there was a stigma attached to it, and some ended up, leaving it alone and leaving it there. But this generation now is taking it from college, well, really high school to college, and then from college to adulthood. And remember, the first rule of politics is to get elected. The second rule of politics is to stay elected. The third rule of politics is to get reelected. So if this is an issue that those voters want, it's going to be on a ticket.
Okay, Will, you're going to get the last word. Will, go ahead.
Doesn't Congress have to vote and approve DC's decision?
Yes.
Okay, so
It's not going to happen.
it's not. Well, you all keep saying that, but I think Congress will also respect federalism. Is also going to look at and treat D.C., though it is not a state, is going to take the position that it is acted like if a state decides this is what it wants, that they will allow it. Well, we'll see.
Go ahead, Roger. Last word. Hold on, Will, because we got 30 seconds.
This
Come
has
on.
never been the way that Congress has treated the District of Columbia. It is not that they treat it as a pawn. It won't happen.
Folks
Won't happen.
And with that roundtable, we are done for the month of November, but we will see you back here in December, and we will be right back.
I am Brother Cornell West, and when I'm in Hampton Roads, I make it a point to listen to Another View with my dear sister Barbara Ham Lee on WHRV-FM.
Thank you, Brother Cornell West. What can I say? Before we close today, let me share some information about the Welcome Home Initiative. It's a 3-day retreat for veterans suffering with PTSD. It's happening Thursday, November 20th through Saturday, November 22nd at Galilee Church in Virginia Beach. Men and women from all branches of the armed forces who have served in combat are invited to come free of charge and be welcomed home. This retreat is for service members and their spouses. For more information, please call 518-335-3225. You can also find this information on our website, anotherviewradio.org. Next week, it's Another View on Health with Dr. Keith Newby. We're talking about binge drinking. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. And Kamaria Mason answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Lee. Have a fabulous weekend, everybody. Stay warm, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for another view.